Hi, I'm Eleanor, and welcome to this week's edition of the Intuition Lab. This week, I'm going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is the art of intuitive decision making. Let's face it, change is challenging, and you'd like to have, if not a foolproof, a way of making decisions with a high level of certainty. And I'm here to tell you that your intuition can help you do just that. You can make the hardest decisions faster, with greater confidence, clarity, and just a sense of ease instead of feeling like your heart's being torn out every time you have to make a big decision. So let's get into it. First of all, change can be overwhelming and scary. Making a huge decision lays your insecurities, your fears, your self concept bare. And it can be time consuming. And sometimes you're just tired of sitting in the what ifs, I don't know, and in between, and you just want to move forward with your life. So I came up with many years ago what I think of as a 6 step process that will help you to make these decisions, guide you from confusion to clarity, and help you just get what you want most with the least amount of fuss. So, how do you do it? Well, before we get started, there are 3 things to consider, and I would say that is your connection with your intuition and how much you already trust it. So, if you're going to rely on your intuition to make decisions, you need to have faith in it. And I've done a few podcast episodes, one especially that mentions gathering data to bolster your hunches, to validate your hunches. And also, knowing what your energetic baseline is, this will help you to know if you are acting out of fear or anxiety. Are you overly optimistic? Are you calm? Are you depressed? And that's what I call your energetic 5 state, which I also have another episode about. So I will link to that so you can watch it and learn a little bit more about this. And just, do you have a way to access your inner calm? Because that's a point from where all good decisions are made. So, about your intuition, just how in touch with your intuition are you? Are you a newbie? Do you have a lot of experience in trusting your gut and taking action on the info received? I mean, you can get the best advice from your higher self, from your intuition, but if you don't have the courage to take action on it, it's not going to serve you at all. And also, I've mentioned before, what is your energetic 5? What is your energetic baseline? And I'll quickly run through it, but I do encourage you to watch my previous episode about just this. So, if you think of 0, of having no energy whatsoever, like you're flat on your back, and 10 is super wired, angry, or excited, you want to be in the middle. I would say from like 4.5 to 5.5. Why is this important? Because the 5 state is where your best decisions are made. You're calm, you're alert, you're a little excited about life, but not super cranked. Because sometimes when we're overly enthusiastic, we ignore our best interests. This is also true if you are really depressed, because then you just think that everything's going to hell anyhow. What difference does it make? And you make decisions from this truly pessimistic place. So that's why it's helpful to know what is your energetic baseline. And also, if you want to embody this energetic 5 state, you're going to have a way of accessing your inner calm. So, how do you get calm and hear your intuition clearly? Well, for some of us, it's sitting and meditating. This is one of my preferred ways of doing it. But if you're action oriented, it may also be while you're walking. This is another way I can access my inner calm, like out on a walk, or running, or working out, where you're sort of in the zone. It can happen during any repetitive task, truly. I mean, I've gotten great messages, while in the shower, or while washing dishes, or while putting things away, or chopping vegetables. Just a repetitive usually manual task that doesn't require a great deal of higher thought, and it can just allow you to experience the sensation of being in your body, but also knowing that your mind is free to wander. Cleaning your house is also a great way to do this, a great way to just sort things and just let messages from your higher self come through and just access that baseline of calm. So once we have those three, I would say, prerequisites for really making good intuitive decisions, we can jump into the 6 step process. So, the first step is knowing, what do you really want? Because that's the key to getting what you want in life, to changing with ease, is knowing, what is it that I really want? You know, what is your desired outcome and what's the essence of it? Because sometimes we think we want one thing, but we want something else. You might think, oh, well, I want a new job, but maybe what you really want is more money or more time or being in an environment where people really respect you, right? And you may or may not get that in a new job. So know what the essence of what you want is and what is your desired outcome. One way to really get clear on this is to write out the first few things that come to mind when you ask yourself this question. So, take a voice note, write it out with pen and paper, whichever method of capturing your inner thoughts works best for you. And be 100% honest with yourself, because sometimes we want something that we think is selfish or, you know, maybe not for the greater benefit of everyone around us. But this is the time to be 100% honest with yourself. And if you don't know exactly what you want, tune into how you want to feel, right? Like using the job environment, because that for many people dictates the whole tenor of your life. How do you want to feel? How do you want to feel in a new job? Do you want to feel valued? Do you want to feel that you are meeting all of your financial obligations without killing yourself? How do you want to feel? If you want to move to a new home, how will you feel in this new home? Is it space? Is it a better location? Do you want to be able to walk to friends, family, and maybe even your job? How do you want to feel? So, the next question to ask yourself is truly, why do you want this? You know, it's not all, you don't always have to know exactly why you want what you want, but who are you making this decision for? Is it for you? Are you doing it because you think other people will want this, whether or not you've asked them? That's why the 100% honesty is incredibly important. And I would say, first and foremost, the desired outcome is greater than the why, because in some cases, rationalizing why you want what you want can pull you off of track because you think, well, let's use getting a raise at work. I'm doing this because I want to, buy my kids a new car as soon as they get their license. But maybe you just want it so that you have more of a secure future. Maybe you want a raise so you can pay off your mortgage before you retire, right? And have that peace of mind. So it's important to know the why, but it's not vital. And you can sometimes even work out the why later on. Sometimes you just want what you want, and sometimes it's not really helpful to spend a lot of time explaining that to yourself. So let's go on to number 2. How can I get what I want? Do a brain dump of all the ideas that come to mind. This is not the time to self censor. The goal of this step is to just list all the possibilities open to you. So if you want a new car, and like, how can you get it? It's like, well, maybe I could steal my neighbor's car. Okay, you could. Not a great idea, right? But just put it out there if that's what comes to mind. And of course, then you'll review it and see what's realistic, what's not going to get you into trouble. But there are many different ways to get what you want. Like if you want a new house, you know, do you have to go out and buy one? Could you do a house swap with a friend who wants to try out living in your area? I mean, it's a possibility. It's not one that we often consider, but this is where you just let your creativity come through. Next, once you have that dump of options out, you're going to review them. And as you do, don't just look at it logically. Ask, how does each option make you feel? Do you feel good? Do they feel like they would be harder than just staying in the situation you're in? How would you do that? You know, don't rule out the items that make you feel great, even if it's outlandish, right? And also know that not taking action is valid. I would say to rule out the items that don't light you up, even if it's, quote, realistic, because you will start and you will be doomed to failure. Next, feel your way into each choice. Imagine yourself doing each item on your list. What are you doing and how do you feel? So, if it is getting a new car, you know, can you see yourself in that car? Can you sit in a friend's car who happens to have the model you want? So briefly research and or test drive, literally or figuratively, each option wherever possible. Your choice may not be easy. I'm not going to pretend this is going to be super easy, but you'll feel a rightness to it in your heart and in your gut. You'll know, like, this is definitely for me. Next, this is where you further get to role play what this new change in your life would be like. What will be the outcome of your choice? So continue to role play each choice and just, almost daydream. Let it play out in your head. The goal of this exercise is to see yourself at the logical conclusion of the actions you take in step 4, which is feeling your way into each choice. So, also, take a note of what you see and analyze your findings if you test drive anything in real life. So, you can, this is where I think voice notes can come in if you don't want to write it out. Just, sort of daydream and just speak your imagined reality into something like a voice note. You know, if I sell my house and move, how do I think this will play out? Just, pulling that as an example. So there are a few pitfalls in the two previous steps because here's where you really begin to process the ramifications of each option. And strong emotions like fear at making the change, anger at being in this situation, resentment, or even grief, because there is a loss when you make a big change in life, may surface. So just be aware of that and put your meditative balancing practices into place. So if you start thinking about it and you start getting upset or going off on a tangent, well, it's going to be really hard to sell all my stuff and move. Just back out, get yourself back to your energetic 5, and start feeling what it would be like to be in the new location. Let's say if you're deciding to move. The goal of this is to let the strong feelings settle so you can review your choices objectively, not just from a data standpoint, but from an intuitive standpoint, so that you're not making these decisions if something within your new life scenario imagining triggers you. The next thing to do is to pick the best feeling option. And when I say best feeling, it's probably not going to be the easiest or the best thing you've done. You'll know in a gut level that this is the best option for you at the present, and it may take a day, a week, a month, or an instant, depending on your tolerance for change. Like, let's say you are in a relationship that's not working out. You know that leaving it will cause lots of difficulty for you, but you feel that that is your best option. It'll be hard, but you'll know on a gut level, like, this is the best option for me right now. Now that you've made a decision, create a roadmap for your change. Just don't say, okay, I've picked this, and then, like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then you never do it. You basically want to research what to do next, create a roadmap for your change. So, if you're going to move, there are sequential lists of steps you need to do, like finding a new place, looking at your budget, determining how long it would take you to sell your house if that's what you're doing, or sell all your things. Do your research and plan the next 3 to 4 steps and start to implement this ASAP. Because if we make a decision and don't do it, then it just becomes something that we know we need to do, yet another thing we know we need to do that we don't do. And when you hit a roadblock, run through the steps I mentioned again so that you can reiterate, like, is this still my next best step? What do I do next? What are my options? Because when you choose a path in life, some are legitimately closed off to you, but others just open. Others you could not have imagined will open. And also, monitor your feelings as you make progress. Are you acting in your own best interest, especially when you make a decision that's right for you, but may not be right for everyone around you? There will be feedback, there will be consternation, there will be unhappiness, and you might start backing off from what you know you personally need to do in order to keep people around you happy. So ask yourself, are you acting in your own best interest? And know that you can almost always change midstream if it's not working out for you. Few things in life are completely irreversible. I was going to say, if you give your notice and leave a job, you probably can't go right back. But if you really love the environment and you left on good terms, more often than not, they will welcome you back with open arms, right? I've seen it happen. Um, I have, I've only done it once, and I regretted doing it because that was not in my own best interest. I chose what was easy instead of what was right. But you will know as you progress, the rightness of your decision. So I hope laying this simple framework out has helped you to sort of systematize, if that's a word, making a decision, making a decision that feels right for you and just doesn't look good when you have a list of pros and cons. And I will insert a link to the 6 steps in this process in the show notes so you can click through and refer to it. I also invite you, if you are really looking for more guidance on how to make these big changes in your life, to join my new Pathfinders community, which will be launching later this month. And it will be a free community of people who are determined to create their best lives through using their intuition to, among other things, make big decisions, you know, move with certainty, greater certainty, move with a sense of ease and rightness, even if you know you have to do hard things. If you are sure of the rightness of it, it will flow far more readily than if you are doubting yourself at every turn. So, again, thank you so much for listening. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe and share. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate the show and subscribe and share it with anyone who you think would benefit. And if you are at a crossroads and really think you would like one-on-one guidance from me, there is a link below where you can sign up for a session. In the meantime, I am sending you so much love. Keep tapping into your intuition, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.